we're going to go ahead and take a look at question number 4 from lesson 1.7, the fixer-upper. I'm going to go ahead and first read through the narrative for this question. If you don't have your textbook with you, please go ahead and pause the video and grab it so that you can follow along. Okay, so for number 4, it says that there is a brick grill in the backyard. Bob and Carol are going to make a concrete patio in the shape of a semicircle next to the grill. The patio is the shaded area that we will go ahead and take a look at in a little bit. The patio's concrete slab needs to be at least 2 inches thick. They will use 40-pound bags of pre-mixed concrete. Each 40-pound bag makes about 30 hundredths of a cubic foot of concrete and costs $6.50. How much will the materials cost, including the 9.4% tax? So the first thing that we should go ahead and do, you already have this noted in your textbook. They provide you a figure. So what I'm going ahead and doing right now is I'm putting in that representation of a grill that they have. Okay, there's your rack to cook everything on. And we're given some dimensions. We know that the grill is going to be 3 feet by 6 feet. The patio, which I'm going to go ahead and denote in orange, is a semicircle. So really quickly, as I go ahead and shade this in, can you think of what is a semicircle? And hopefully you are noting that a semicircle is half of a circle. Okay. We also know that if we were to kind of take a side view of it, if we were to like lay down right next to the patio, we would kind of see from a certain perspective here. So here's my semicircle, only we're laying down and kind of looking at it on the side, is that the patio will have a little bit of a thickness to it. Okay, so it's almost like it has like a little step attached, or it has a little bit of a step. And we know that this is 2 inches. Okay. Once we have all this dimension, again, let's remind ourselves of what our goal is. So our goal is we want to find the cost of making this patio. Okay. So one of the first things that I would want to note is, as we begin to explore this, notice that the grill's dimensions are going to be measured in feet. Okay. But the thickness is measured in inches. And if you've looked at homework assignments for section 1.7, you will note that if you have mismatched units, you're going to have to either make them all feet, or we should make them all inches. In this case, I'm going to go ahead and take a moment and convert 2 inches into feet, just so I have everything on an even playing field. So if I go ahead and do that, I'll take 2 inches, and if you need to, go ahead and write that over 1. And we'll go ahead and we'll establish that relationship. So I know that I want inches in the denominator, so that inches and inches will cancel. And I know that there are 12 inches in 1 foot. So if we were to go ahead and evaluate this, we would get, and I'm going to write this in its fraction form, we would get 2 over 12 feet, or we would get a fraction representation, so this is 1/6 of a foot. Okay. So just so we know, 2 inches is the same thing as 1/6 of a foot. Intuitively, this should make sense that since 2 inches is less than 12 inches, that it's going to be a fractional representation. Okay. So again, our goal is to find the cost, and in order to find the cost, I need to know how many cubic feet is going to be needed to create this semicircular patio. So again, the info that we have here is that one bag is equal to 40 pounds, and 40 pounds is going to be giving me about 30/100 cubic feet. We also know that one bag is equal to $6.50. Okay, and then just so we don't forget it, so I'm going to star it because how can you ignore something with stars on it? Sorry, that was a really, really bad piece of advice. But anyway, if we star this, then we say that we don't want to forget that there's a 9.4% tax that we're going to have to work with later. Okay, so let's go ahead and think about this. Since we are talking about a semicircle, but a semicircle with thickness, we know that we want to actually go ahead and calculate the volume here. Okay, so think about this really quickly. So if I want to find the volume, basically volume that we've worked with before, is going to basically involve a length, width, and a height. And I'm referring more to the area for a rectangle or a square. But length times width is really the area of a circle in this case, and then we're going to multiply it by the height. So does that seem clear? Okay, whenever you're finding a volume, you're basically taking the area of a figure and then you're multiplying it by that third dimension, which is why the units for volume always have a cube attached to it. So let's break this down a little bit further. What is the area of a circle? Go ahead and pause the video and refer to the back part of your textbook if you need a refresher. Once you have it, or go online and double check. Once you have it, come back. So the area of a circle is going to be pi times the radius squared, and then I'm just going to distill the word height down to a variable of h. Okay, so now our formula, we've taken it from a verbal description to symbols. Okay, so now we can actually get to work. Pi is just a number. Okay, if you remember, pi is about 3.14, but your calculator should also have the symbol so that you can use that. And we want to note the radius here. All right, I'm going to go back to my figure and I'm going to start writing in pink. My radius is going to be the same thing as this measurement, because if this rectangle has 6 feet on this side, then it must be 6 feet on this side. If that was a different measure, then this wouldn't be a rectangle. So this is 6 feet. So we know that the diameter is 6 feet. What's the relationship between a diameter and a radius? If you said that a radius is half of a diameter, you are spot on. So my radius is going to be 3 feet. And then I want to use my height. So the whole point of going ahead and converting my inches to feet in this situation was so that everything had the same units attached to it. So I'm going to go ahead and do 1/6 here. Okay. As we had noted above, 2 inches is the same thing as 1/6 of a foot, and that's why 1/6 is plugged into here. Okay. You could also have done the unit conversion all in one big line in your calculation. Sometimes, though, I think if we break it into pieces, it's a little bit less overwhelming. So if we go ahead and we take care of this, we will get the following. So I'm just going to go ahead and use a calculator here. So I'm going to do pi times 3 squared times 1/6. Okay, this is equal to 4.71238898, and this is going to be cubic feet. But note really quickly that we found the volume for basically a circle with a thickness of 2 inches. But we're concerned with a semicircle. So again, revisiting this idea, our volume for our semicircle is going to be 1/2 times 4.71238898 cubic feet. So it's going to be half of the disk that we just calculated. Okay, so this is going to give us, if we multiply that by 1/2, or in other words divide it by 2. When I say multiply by 1/2 or divide by 2, I am saying the same thing. This becomes 2.3561949 cubic feet. So let's go ahead and box that information. We do want that. Okay. So at this point, we know how many cubic feet we're going to be needing. Now we can go ahead and start really getting closer to our goal here. Okay, so I'm going to start writing my next piece in green. So if we know that we have, and let's go ahead and simplify this down. Let's say that this is about 2.36 cubic feet. So this way we don't have to write the full-blown number in there. So if we know that we have about 2.36 cubic feet, I basically want to convert this into how many bags of concrete am I going to need to purchase. Well, we have that information, and we can create a ratio. So we know that one bag is 40 pounds and is also equivalent to 30 hundredths of a cubic foot. So let's go ahead and put our cubic foot on the bottom, because again, we want the cubic feet to cancel out, and then this way it reveals to us how many bags of concrete we are going to need. So again, one bag is equivalent to 30 hundredths. And if we go ahead and we do this calculation, we get that this is equal to 7.86 repeating bags. But as we had discussed in class previously, this doesn't make sense. We can't go into we can't go into a store and say, I will take 7 of your bags, and then I will then go ahead and take about 8.6 repeating of another bag. We just don't have that kind of society, I suppose. So we would have to spend a little bit extra, and we will say, okay, we're going to purchase about 8 bags. Okay. So once I know this information, I'm going to go ahead and do my next line in red. So we have 8 bags. Let's figure out the cost. So we know that, again, one bag is equivalent to $6.50. So let's put bag, and then we'll put money up here, because again, bag and bag will cancel each other out. We'll say that one bag is $6.50. So right now it looks like in order to make this patio, we're spending $52. But again, and I'm going to go ahead and do that, the next piece in purple, remember that we had starred this information so that we didn't want to forget it and not come back to it. We basically want to figure out, so this is our cost without tax, but we don't live in a state in this situation that doesn't have any sort of sales tax, so we're not in like Oregon or Montana, for example. We're here. So our 9.4% tax needs to be factored in. So in order to find our tax, we are going to take $52 and we're going to multiply that by 0.094. Remember that when you are working with a percentage, we need to convert it into a decimal. Okay, this is only one way to calculate the tax. You might have a different way as well. So if we go ahead and multiply that by our tax rate, we are given that this is, our tax is 4.888, which doesn't quite make sense. So again, our money doesn't go that far, so our tax that we're going to be paying is about $4.89. So our final total, which I will go ahead and write in blue, which I will now write in blue, is going to be the $52 from our cost without tax plus our tax. So our grand total will be $56.89. So here we have reached our goal. Okay, we want to find the cost of making this patio. We know that the cost to purchase the materials will be $52. We're assuming that we're making this so that there is no labor cost, at least a monetary one. And then we also do need to factor in that tax. Okay, so let me just kind of briefly run through our process again, and hopefully this will help you in answering some of the problems that you have on your homework. So again, if you refer back to the chart, we basically, or our little picture that we have in the upper left-hand corner, we have our grill, which has dimensions of 3 by 6, and then we want to basically put a patio against one of the 6-foot sides. We also want to note that the patio will have a 2-inch thickness attached to it. Okay, if we made it, too thin, then obviously anyone standing on it would just shatter it, and what would be the point? What you also want to note in this situation is that the dimensions of the grill are in feet and the thickness of the patio is in inches. So in order to save myself a headache, I either wanted to convert everything into inches or I wanted to convert everything into feet. At this point, if you converted everything into inches, that would have been fine. But the reason why I wanted to convert everything to feet first is because if you take a look at the ratio of a 40-pound bag being equivalent to 30/100ths of a cubic foot, since that unit is in feet, that's why I gravitated toward that choice. Okay, so we found that 2 inches is equivalent to 1/6 of a foot. Well, since we are working in 3 dimensions, and the measurement for, or the equivalent for a 40-pound bag is also measured in cubic feet, I know that I want to work with volume. So those are kind of your keywords or your hints that you're experiencing here. So volume is pretty much the same thing as finding the area of an object and then multiplying it by that 3rd dimension of height. So if we find the area of a circle in this situation, a circle is pi times r squared, we would just need to multiply it by its height or its thickness. We know that the radius of the circle is going to be basically equivalent to half of the diameter. We know that the diameter in this situation is 6 feet. So we will cut 6 feet in half, which is 3 feet. So that is why we have pi times 3 squared times its thickness, which is 1/6 of an inch, or sorry, of a foot. Once we do that, we arrive at that answer of 4.71 cubic feet. But remember, we are not making a completely circular patio, we are making a semicircle. So let's take that volume and cut it in half, because since we are working with a semicircle is half of a full circle. This gives me about 2.36 cubic feet. This is what we need in order to finally figure out how many bags of concrete we will need to purchase, and then from there we can find the cost relatively easy. So as per usual with these problems, we are front-loading our work, and now it's kind of going to trickle all downhill. So we will take what I have in green, our 2.36 cubic feet, and multiply it by the ratio of one bag being equivalent to 30/100ths of a cubic foot. Okay, notice that the reason why I did that was so that the cubic feet would cancel and that it would tell me how many bags. And in this situation, we have about 8 full bags that we would need to purchase. Since one bag is equivalent to $6.50, again, if we create that ratio, which I have in red, we will find that our cost before tax is going to be $52. After that, we need to add the tax on. So our tax rate is 9.4%. So in order to calculate the tax, we need to convert our percentage into a decimal, and then we'll multiply it by our total cost before tax. This gives me about $4.89. If we add those two values together, the cost before tax plus its tax, we will find out that we are going to spend $56.89. I hope this explanation was helpful. Please feel free to give me feedback so that I can improve on these videos and hopefully help you out as we progress in the course. Thanks.